Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Book Summary Podcast. We've gotten a ton of requests from you guys to cover Millionaire Success Habits by Dean Graziosi.
It's a really popular one.
Yeah, so it seems like you're all ready to unlock those success secrets, so let's just dive right in
Yeah, let's do it.
and see what we can find.
Awesome.
Dean Graziosi, he's all about self-made success, and his book really lays out his roadmap for getting there.
Yeah, and he does it through stories. He doesn't just talk theory. He brings in all these real-life examples of people who've actually used these habits to transform their lives.
Yeah, and speaking of stories, I mean, there's one that really caught my eye. It's the story of JP.
Oh, yeah, JP.
Now, this guy, he had a boss who was, how do I put this nicely, a bit of a Scrooge, you know. The guy just piled more and more work on JP just to avoid hiring anyone else.
Yeah, that's something I think a lot of us can relate to in one way or another. I mean, we've all had those kind of situations where we feel like we're being taken advantage of. But what's really cool about JP's story is that he didn't let it break him.
Yeah.
He actually used it as fuel to kind of like ignite this fire in him. He wanted to prove his boss wrong, and that's exactly what he did. He ended up starting his own business and becoming super successful.
Like what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Yeah.
Right? And in JP's case, it really did. I mean, he even went on to become a door-to-door encyclopedia salesman, which is like, talk about a tough gig.
Talk about rejection.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But that experience, it built this resilience in him. It taught him how to connect with people, overcome rejection, how to communicate effectively. And all of those skills, they became the foundation for his later success.
And I think that connects back to one of the big themes of the book, which is the importance of early success habits. It's these small wins, these early victories that build on each other and create a foundation for bigger achievements.
Absolutely. They create momentum, they give you confidence, and they start to build this belief in yourself that you can actually achieve anything you set your mind to.
Yeah.
I mean, we've all had those moments in our lives where we face some kind of setback. But the question is, how did we use that experience? Did we let it defeat us? Or did we learn from it and find a way to grow from it?
Yeah.
Think about a time in your own life when you had a similar experience. What did you learn from it? And how did it shape your approach to future obstacles?
That's such a good point. It's not about avoiding challenges. It's about using them as stepping stones to reach a higher level. Now, building on that idea of setting goals and achieving success, Graziosi also talks about the importance of having a vision, knowing your why, he calls it.
Yeah, and he actually uses this really powerful analogy. He compares it to having a Ferrari brain, but no GPS.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, so like you might have all the horsepower in the world.
Right, all the potential.
All the potential, all the talent. But if you don't know where you're going,
You're just going
you're just going to end up driving in circles.
spinning your wheels, yeah.
You're just going to be stuck.
Absolutely.
So to help you define your why, he introduces this exercise called 7 Levels Deep. Have you heard of this?
Oh, yeah. The 7 Levels Deep exercise, it's all about repeatedly asking yourself why. You go deeper and deeper until you uncover the real motivations behind your goals. So it's not just, I want to make more money. It's like, okay, why do you want to make more money? And then you keep asking yourself why to each answer until you hit that core, that emotional core of what really drives you. And that's when things get really powerful.
I love that. It's about peeling back those layers and getting to the heart of what truly matters.
Yeah.
Because once you understand your why, it becomes this driving force, this unwavering motivation that keeps you going even when you hit those inevitable roadblocks.
Exactly. It becomes your fuel.
It's your purpose. It's your reason for getting out of bed every morning, even on those days when you'd rather just stay under the covers. So if you're finding this deep dive helpful, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to our channels for more insightful book summaries. We've got so much more to unpack from Millionaire Success Habits.
We're just getting started. Up next, we're going to tackle something everyone struggles with, that inner voice of self-doubt, that inner critic that Graziosi calls the inner villain. We'll explore where this negativity comes from and some practical strategies to overcome it.
This is where it gets really interesting. Get ready to silence that inner villain and unleash your full potential.
I'm excited.
Me too.
Okay, so you know that inner villain we were talking about, that voice of self-doubt?
Yeah, like the one that tells you you're not good enough.
Right, exactly.
The one that's always holding you back.
Well, Graziosi makes this really interesting point that it's not just some random voice in our heads. It's often shaped by external forces that we might not even be aware of. Like, think about it for a second, the constant stream of negative news that we're bombarded with every day.
Oh, yeah.
And then you've got all this well-meaning advice that's not always so helpful.
Yeah.
And we're constantly being told to focus on our weaknesses instead of our strengths.
It's like we're surrounded by these messages that chip away at our confidence without us even realizing it.
Yeah, and it can be so subtle, but it definitely has an impact. But the good news is, Graziosi doesn't just leave us hanging. He doesn't just tell us to ignore it, you know. He gives us actual tools and strategies to fight back.
Yeah, I love that about his approach. He's all about giving you actionable steps.
Exactly. He's not just about theory, it's about practical application.
So how do we fight back against that inner villain?
Well, he provides these strategies to help us identify where these negative beliefs are coming from.
Yeah.
And then he says, once you've identified them, you can start to actively dismantle them. He even shares this story, it's a personal story, about when he was writing his first book.
Oh, yeah.
And he received some pretty harsh criticism from an editor. You know, like, I can only imagine how discouraging that would be.
Yeah, especially for your first book.
Right, exactly. But you know what? He actually admitted that the feedback was valid. He realized his writing wasn't perfect, but instead of letting that criticism paralyze him, you know, he chose to focus on the power of his message, the value he knew he could bring to the world.
Oh, I love that. It's about focusing on your strengths, not letting your weaknesses define you.
Exactly, and trusting your gut. Because sometimes you just got to filter out the noise and listen to that inner voice, the one that believes in you, not the one that doubts you.
Such a crucial lesson. I mean, it really makes you think about all those limiting beliefs we've internalized over the years.
Right.
I mean, where did they come from? How have they affected our choices? Have you ever had any like that you've had to overcome?
Absolutely. I think everyone has. And it's a perfect segue into another key concept from the book, which is the power of our story. You know, the narrative we tell ourselves about who we are, what we're capable of, and what our future holds.
I've heard about that, the importance of rewriting your story.
Yeah, it's so powerful. And Graziosi, he shares this incredible story about Jenna. She was a stay-at-home mom who felt completely trapped by her own limiting beliefs.
Oh, wow.
And she was stuck in a story that wasn't serving her. She believed that her life was basically set in stone. But then something shifted.
Really?
Yeah, she started to question those beliefs. She traced them back to their source. And then, most importantly, she started writing a new, empowering story for herself.
Okay, so what happened? What did her new story look like?
The results were amazing. She ended up launching a business, traveling the world, achieving things she never thought possible, all because she dared to change her internal narrative.
Oh, that's inspiring. It's a reminder that we all have the power to change our story.
Exactly. We're not
We're
stuck.
not victims of our circumstances.
We can literally rewrite our future.
I love that. It makes you think, what's the story you're currently telling yourself? Is it pushing you forward or is it holding you back? What would your ideal, most empowering story look like?
That's a question everyone should ask themselves. It's the starting point for any real transformation.
Recognizing the stories we tell ourselves and then choosing to rewrite them.
Powerful stuff. And if you want to discover more life-changing concepts like this one, be sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel.
You've got tons more book summaries coming your way.
Now, we've talked about silencing that inner villain and rewriting your story, but to actually live out that new, empowering story, you need confidence.
Yeah, that's for sure.
And Graziosi, he breaks down confidence into 4 essential components. He calls them the 4 C's: courage, commitment, capabilities, and then confidence.
The 4 C's. I like that. It's catchy.
It is, and what's really cool is how he shows how each of these elements builds upon the previous one.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, it all starts with courage. That willingness to step outside of your comfort zone, take action, even when you're afraid. And that courage, it fuels commitment, the dedication to keep going, even when things get tough.
I can see how that works. One leads to the other. And he uses this really powerful story in the book, the story of J.J. Virgin. She's a woman who faced unimaginable tragedy when her son was hit by a drunk driver.
Oh, yeah, that story's just heartbreaking.
The doctors basically told her to give up hope.
Yeah, they said her son would never recover.
But JJ, she refused to accept that outcome. She showed incredible courage, unwavering commitment. She found the best care possible, and she just poured every ounce of her being into helping her son heal.
And you know what? Against all odds, her son recovered.
Wow.
It's a testament to the power of the human spirit, you know, and the power of focusing on the best possible outcome, even when faced with incredible adversity.
It's a beautiful story, but it also highlights how those challenges can force us to develop new capabilities.
Right.
Like JJ, she had to learn how to navigate the complex medical system. She had to become an advocate for her son, And in doing so, she discovered strengths she never even knew she had. And that led to a surge in her confidence, this realization that she was capable of far more than she ever imagined.
It's a reminder that even in those dark moments, we can find a way to overcome obstacles.
Yeah.
And we can emerge even stronger on the other side. Have you ever faced a challenge that forced you to really dig deep and discover those hidden strengths?
I think we all have those moments that really test us and push us to grow. Now, speaking of pushing ourselves, Graziosi also talks about something kind of unexpected. He dives into the importance of physicality.
Physicality.
Yeah, like in terms of projecting confidence. Our posture, our body language, even our facial expressions, they all send these subtle signals to the world around us.
That's interesting. I didn't think about that.
He actually shares a story about how he realized he was constantly slouching.
Oh,
And then simply correcting his posture sparked all these positive changes in his life.
I can see that. It's like your body can reflect your inner state.
Totally. So if we carry ourselves with confidence, it projects that message outward. It's like, hey, I got this.
It's like a visual affirmation.
Yeah, exactly. He even suggests this exercise called the two-picture exercise, where you find an unflattering photo of yourself.
Oh, no, that's scary.
I know, right? And then you contrast it with a photo where you look and feel empowered.
Oh, okay.
And you write a list of all your positive qualities. It's a way to become more aware of how you're presenting yourself to the world.
Makes sense, because we're not always aware of how we come across to others.
Exactly. Makes you think, how do you carry yourself? Are you projecting confidence and openness? Or are you maybe unknowingly signaling insecurity?
Good question. Now, building on that idea of self-perception, Graziosi introduces the concept of power phrases.
Ooh, tell me more about power phrases.
Okay, so there are these short, positive statements, and they're designed to kind of like reframe your thinking and trigger that inner hero. It's
Okay.
like giving yourself a pep talk,
Mm-hmm.
but in a way that resonates with your subconscious mind. He even tells a story about meeting Tony Robbins for the first time and how Tony's power phrase helped him overcome a moment of fear and anxiety.
Wow, it's amazing how powerful words can be.
I know, right? It's like a simple phrase can shift your entire energy. It's like flipping that mental switch from doubt to determination.
What are some of the power phrases that you use?
I have a few that I always go back to, when I need a little boost. But you know what? I'd love to hear from our viewers.
Yeah.
What's a power phrase you use to overcome self-doubt and really ignite that inner hero? Share it in the comments below.
I love that. Let's get a conversation going.
And while you're at it, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives like this one.
We've got so much more to share with you guys.
Now, let's shift gears a bit and talk about attraction and persuasion.
Oh, okay, this is interesting, like how to win friends and influence people.
Well, not exactly. Graziosi emphasizes that these concepts aren't about manipulation or trickery. It's all about authentic connection.
Okay, that makes sense.
It's about genuinely understanding people's needs and presenting solutions that actually add value to their lives.
Mm-hmm. So it's not about just selling something for the sake of selling it. It's about helping people.
Precisely. And he uses this example of a car salesman who is so focused on his accomplishments, bragging about all the features of the car, that he completely misses what the customer really wants.
Oh yeah, I've encountered those types before.
Classic example of how not to approach persuasion. It's not about pushing your agenda. It's about really listening
Yeah,
and understanding the other person's perspective.
active listening, like they say.
Exactly. And Graziosi, he even talks about this technique called the unfair deal closer, where you ask people to envision the ideal outcome, like a year from now. It's like fast forwarding to that point where everything has worked out perfectly.
Oh, I like that. It's shifting the focus from the potential obstacles to the desired result.
Right, and it helps create that sense of shared vision.
Now, this next concept, I think it might surprise you. Graziosi talks about the importance of what he calls the after the yes.
After the yes.
Yeah. He's saying it's not enough to just make the sale or close the deal. You have to focus on building those relationships, providing value, even after the transaction is done.
Makes sense. It's about building long-term trust.
Yeah, and he uses this example of neglected tenants who just feel totally unappreciated after signing a lease. Like, they got the apartment, but the landlord made them feel like just another number.
Right, it's like once they got what they wanted, they just forgot about the people.
It makes you wonder, how do you nurture those relationships with the people who've already said yes to you? Are you building loyalty, or are you just treating those interactions as transactional?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Graziosi, he talks about camping out in the minds of your clients.
What does that mean?
It means understanding their needs, their feelings, their ongoing challenges.
Oh, okay.
It's about staying top of mind,
Hmm.
not just disappearing once the deal is done.
That makes sense. It's all about building those long-term relationships.
He even gives this challenge to write 5 handwritten thank you letters to people who have made a positive impact on your life. It's such a simple thing,
It is.
but it's so powerful. It's all about cultivating gratitude and strengthening those connections.
And if you're enjoying this deep dive so far, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the Book Summary podcast for more insights just like this.
We'll be right back to wrap up our exploration of Millionaire Success Habits with some final key takeaways.
And a challenge for all of you.
Stay tuned. All right, welcome back to the show. We're wrapping up our deep dive into Millionaire Success Habits by Dean Graziosi. And man, we've covered some amazing ground already.
We have, haven't we?
Turning adversity into fuel, rewriting your story, those 4 C's of confidence. But now I want to shift gears a bit and talk about something that I think is really, really important. It's happiness.
Oh, happiness. That's a big one.
It is a big one. But it's something that I think a lot of people get wrong. They think, oh, I'll be happy when I achieve this. I'll be happy when I get that. Like, happiness is this thing you get as a reward for reaching a certain level of success.
Right, like a destination. You just arrive at Happy Town.
But Graziosi, he has a totally different perspective.
Mm.
He says true happiness isn't a byproduct of success. It's actually a prerequisite for success.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not about chasing happiness. It's about creating it from within.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Yeah, and he gives you a framework for doing just that. He breaks down happiness into 5, count them, 5 powerful habits.
By habits.
And the first one is, well, you got to define what happiness actually means to you.
That makes sense.
Yeah, because it's not about what society tells you it should be,
Yeah.
It's about what genuinely brings you joy, what lights you up inside.
What makes you feel alive, yeah.
Absolutely. And then the second habit is embracing the present moment.
Oh, yeah. Being mindful.
Not dwelling on the past, not worrying about the future, but like really finding contentment in the now. It's so easy to get caught up in those what ifs, those should have beens, but real happiness is about being present in this moment.
Mm-hmm. Easier said than done, though.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It takes practice. It's a muscle you got to build.
It is.
So what are some of those other habits that he suggests?
Well, the third habit is shifting your focus from what could go wrong to what could go right.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, it's about adopting that mindset of possibility and abundance.
Instead of fear and scarcity?
Exactly. Instead of always expecting the worst.
Yeah, it's choosing to see the glass half full.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And the fourth habit he talks about is letting go of clinging to specific outcomes.
Oh, okay. So what does that mean?
So it's not about having this rigid plan that you have to stick to no matter what.
Okay.
It's about being open to unexpected opportunities and trusting that things will unfold as they should.
So it's about surrendering a little bit, embracing the journey and not just fixating on the destination.
Exactly. And finally, the fifth habit is all about cultivating gratitude.
Oh, gratitude. That's a good one.
Yeah, it's about appreciating all the good in your life.
Both big and small.
Right, not taking anything for granted.
Mm-hmm. Recognizing all that abundance that surrounds us, even when things feel tough.
Yeah, and you know what? When you practice gratitude consistently, it actually rewires your brain to focus on the positive, so you start to see more and more good things in your life.
It's like a positive feedback loop.
Exactly.
These are all such powerful practices. And it really drives home that point that happiness is something we can actively create. It's not just something that happens to us.
You have the power.
You have the power.
To choose happiness.
Absolutely. And to put all of this into action, Graziosi introduces the concept of the 90-day sprint. So have you heard of this?
Oh, yeah, the 90-day sprint. It's all about setting goals that you can actually achieve in 90 days and taking consistent action to build that momentum, get things moving.
I love that because, like you said, it's breaking those big, hairy, audacious goals into smaller, more manageable chunks.
Right, make them bite-sized.
Yeah, so they don't feel so overwhelming.
Exactly, because if you're looking at this huge mountain you have to climb, it can feel pretty daunting.
Yeah, you're just like, where do I even start?
Yeah.
But if you break it down into smaller steps, it suddenly feels more doable.
Absolutely. And Graziosi, he shares the story of Matt. And Matt was feeling totally overwhelmed by the thought of starting a real estate business.
Oh, wow.
But he decided to focus on a 90-day plan, breaking down his big goals into these smaller, more manageable steps. And you know what? He ended up being super successful.
That's inspiring. It's a good reminder that You don't need to do everything all at once.
Mm-hmm.
It's about taking those small, consistent steps that ultimately lead to extraordinary results.
And it's about celebrating those little wins along the way.
Oh, absolutely. Celebrate those small victories. It keeps you motivated, it builds momentum, and it reminds you that you're making progress. So what's one thing you can commit to doing for the next 90 days that would move you closer to your goals?
That's a good question for everyone to think about.
Yeah, share it in the comments below. Let us know what you're working on. All right, now, Graziosi talks about this concept that's super relevant in today's world. It's all about focusing on your unique ability. Like, what are you naturally good at? What brings you joy? And how can you use that to make the biggest impact?
So it's like finding your zone of genius.
Exactly. It's that sweet spot where your talents and passions intersect.
In Graziosi, he encourages you to create what he calls a UA circle, which is basically a visual representation of your skills and abilities, with your unique ability at the center. He even shares this funny story about how he hired someone to mow his lawn.
Really?
Yeah, and his dad criticized him for not doing it himself, you know?
And-
Like, come on, you're a grown man, you can mow your own lawn.
That's so funny.
But Graziosi realized that his time was better spent focusing on the things he was truly exceptional at, the things that could generate a much higher return on his investment.
I mean, that makes sense.
It does. It's about understanding that your time and energy are precious resources. And in today's world, we have access to so many tools and resources that can help us, delegate or outsource tasks that aren't in our zone of genius.
Like virtual assistants, freelancers, you name it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So why waste time doing things you're not good at when you could be focusing on your superpowers?
Right. Now let's talk about attraction and persuasion,
Okay,
because these are skills that are essential for success in any area of life.
for sure.
But Graziosi makes a really important point. He emphasizes that these concepts aren't about manipulation or trickery. It's about authentic connection.
So it's not about being sleazy or pushy.
No, not at all. It's about genuinely understanding people's needs and presenting solutions that truly add value to their lives.
So it's about helping people.
Yeah, and he shares this story about feeling really nervous before a TV interview.
Oh, no.
Yeah, he was worried that the host wouldn't take him seriously, but by just being himself, speaking from the heart, he was able to connect with the audience and achieve amazing results.
It's the power of authenticity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People can sense when you're being genuine, and they're more likely to trust you.
And to buy from you.
Absolutely. And to further enhance your ability to attract and persuade, Graziosi talks about the power of storytelling.
Oh, yeah. Stories, they're so powerful.
They are. And he believes that sharing personal anecdotes and relatable experiences can make your message so much more impactful and memorable.
Makes sense. Stories help us connect with each other.
Yeah, they make us feel things. They make us remember things. So he encourages you to identify those stories from your own life that really illustrate your values, your strengths, the lessons you've learned along the way.
Like those defining moments.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he even shares this really sweet story about how he used this made-up story about a one-toothed werewolf to teach his kids about empathy and understanding.
Oh, that's so cute.
It's a great example of how storytelling can be used as a tool for connection and persuasion. By sharing our experiences, we become more relatable, we build trust, we create those deeper connections with people.
Yeah, we humanize ourselves.
And finally, Graziosi circles back to that concept of mastering the after the yes, which we talked about earlier.
Right, so it's not just about closing the deal.
It's about building those long-term relationships that go beyond the initial transaction. And he gives an example of how he goes above and beyond for his tenants.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, he makes them feel valued and appreciated even after they've signed the lease. He's not just collecting rent, he's building relationships.
So he's thinking about the long game.
Yeah, exactly. It's about shifting from that transactional mindset to a more relationship-focused approach. And I think that's one of the big takeaways from this book. True success isn't just about money. It's about personal growth. It's about mindset shifts. It's about building meaningful relationships.
And creating a life of abundance and fulfillment.
Yeah. So as we wrap up our deep dive into Millionaire Success Habits, I hope you found it insightful and inspiring.
I know I did.
Me too. And we encourage you to take what you've learned today and put it into action. What resonated with you the most? What one concept are you going to focus on implementing? Share your thoughts in the comments below.
Yeah, we love hearing from you guys.
We do. Thank you for joining us. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel for more book summaries. And until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep striving to become the best version of yourselves.
See ya.